What is up, guys? It's Stab, and welcome back to week 1 of the GBL, the Global Pokemon League. This is week 1. We're taking on Corey and the Carolina Caterpies. To our right, not our left, you will be seeing the team, not only that we constructed for this week to go against him, but also our projected team that he might bring based on his roster against us. If you missed the team builder, which I did do a pretty in-depth analysis of the team that I'm constructing for this week, that was the last video that went up on the channel, so I think that went up last night. If you haven't seen it, a link to that will be in the description, as well as a playlist to every video we do for the GBL this season. But we are bringing a Life Orb special, Kieran Black, I have the team right here, I'll pull it up, a bulky, especially offensive Mega Blastoise, a bulky Mawile with Stealth Rock, a Choice Scarf Crocodile, Jolly, for maximum speed output, a Life Orb Striker for some offenses, and then lastly, a mixed Expert Bell Victini to hit his team very hard. But on Corey's side, we are expecting a very powerful squad from him as well, mainly consisting of the Mega Venusaur, the Volcanion, the Rotom Heat, the Empoleon, the Miltank, and the something else, but I can't remember the name. I can't remember what it is. I think it might be Salamence. It's right on the layout where you guys will see it, but I don't have his team in front of me, so we're just gonna roll with that. Anyway, guys, I'll be back in a couple seconds with the match so we can go over that and see how we did and how things happened. Alright, what is going on, guys? It's Stab, and we are finally back with the actual battle, so you guys get to see how the game went down and all that shit. So yeah, I might be pausing it during the game just to kind of explain my plays, but this is team preview, and as you see, we brought our team, and he brought a very, very similar team to Genesect. I can't believe I forgot Genesect in the little intro. That was like the most obvious mon he probably would bring, but yeah, so he has that. We got his team basically right. There are a few things that I was expecting, mainly his walls. He didn't bring any of his walls, being the Miltank or the Empoleon, but we did prep for those in our prep. We prepped for everything on his team. I pretty much am someone who will prep for all 11 mods, just because you don't want to prep for 8 or 9 of them and then have the 2 that you gave no thought to be some of the ones he brought. So we are prepared for everything. It's just some of them I was not as sure on as far as if he would bring them or not. But what you're looking at is he did bring his Mega Venusaur. He brought Archops, he brought Genesect, Rotom Heat, Meloetta, and Salamence. So like I said, his walls, his Miltank, and his Empoleon are not there, so we don't have to worry about them coming in and clicking Toxic or Stealth Rock. His only Stealth Rocker and only hazards in general right now is the potential Stealth Rock on the Archops, which is nice, as Blastoise can beat that 1v1 and spin it away should he try to get up those rocks or lead with it. Another thing I noticed is that his team is really weak to Kyurem and also Victini and Crocodile. So our offenses are going to do a hell of a lot of work in this game. Anything else that I noticed? He did bring the Salamence, so I wasn't too sure what he might have at this point in the game, because he could also be Scarf Genesect. And then another thing that I thought might, well, we were going into this whole game thinking that he was a specially defensive, especially offensive Rotom, so I did expect offensive Rotom. Real quick before I forget, the team this week was I received some help from my boy Andrew, so he's a really nice guy. He helps pretty decent team builder, so hopefully we are able to construct this squad to get the win today. Anyway, we're going to get right into it. Yeah, so the link to Corey's show will be in the description as usual, and like I said, we're going to get straight off the game. So I lead off on Mawile as he leads off with his Archops. Now, the reason I led off on Mawile is because I saw no Volcanion, so I was not as worried about like a fire move or anything like that, and also he has no way to get rid of his hazards bar Defog on Archops or Defog on Salamence. Like I said, I don't expect Defog Salamence, so I figure I can buy rocks up as soon as possible because most of his team is pretty weak to it. So I do lead off with that as he leads with Archops. Now there is a chance he could go for the taunt here, but he actually weirdly switches out. I don't know if he wanted to go right into his fire type to hit the Mawile, or I don't know why he chose to do what he did, but that wasn't the best play. But I am able to get my rocks up for basically free. Now I expect him to try and go for either a fire move or a will-o-wisp, so I switch into Substrika. Now Substrika in this match is pretty expendable just because he doesn't have the Empoleon and he didn't bring the Volcanion, two of the main things that Substrika was offensively there for. Now this is a pretty pivotal part in the game here. I am Life Orb max special attack, but Substrika is really, really weak, guys. And as you're going to see there, I go for Volt Switch on the Rotom just to get some initiative out. And this actually does around 37%, which, based on the calc from the damage, this means he is fully offensive. I don't know if he's Choice Scarf. I'm expecting because he went for Will-O-Wisp and not an offensive move right away that he is not. But it means that he's carrying no bulk whatsoever, so that is something to keep in mind. Anyway, I'm going to Volt Switch out into my back in my Mawile. Now, the reason I did this is I don't really have anything to go into right now, at least. And like I said, I'm expecting offensive. He might be Scarf Willow, in which case I could have taken this Overheat, especially since I have the Aquaberry for a potential flamethrower from Genesect. But unfortunately, as you can see, Mawile is really weak, and Rotom is actually really strong, especially since he reveals the Life Orb here, and Overheat just blows me away. There was no way I was living that. Potentially could have gone to my Blastoise, but at this point in the game, I needed it for the Archops and potentially other things here. So I'm going to go into Crocodile just to scare him out. He doesn't want to take anything, basically. He chooses to go into Archops, and I'm just going to go for the knockoff. It was a pretty free knockoff had he gone into Venusaur. He ends up being a Focus Sash variant, which I'm assuming was a Focus Sash lead, which is another strange thing that he didn't actually get his rocks up. Okay, so as you see there, I go for the knockoff, and I get around 76%. That was actually a high roll, but because I'm Scarf, I do outspeed a max speed variant of Archops, and I could have just killed him on the next turn. So yes, the crit, that mattered in the sense that I killed him in one hit instead of two, but I would have definitely killed him in the second hit, especially since I got the Moxie Boost. Now he goes into Venusaur. I can't really touch this thing, and I don't want to take a Giga Drain this early in the game, especially since I might need this to take on Salamence. So I'm going to go into Substrike. It's pretty expendable, as I mentioned a couple of turns earlier, and he's just going to Mega Evolve. He clicks Knockoff. Now, I could have gone to Blastoise here, but nobody goes into Blastoise on Mega Venusaur turn 1 without knowing it's set, and if he had just gone for a Giga Drain, which was equally possible, especially since he should have known I was Scarfed, but once he saw Moxie, but in case he didn't think I was Scarfed, I guess I could have hit him with something else, like potentially like an Aerial Ace or just clicked Earthquake because it is neutral, but I was locked in a knockoff. There was no way I was staying in, so he knocks on my Life Orb. Like I said, at this point, Substrike is pretty useless, so it's not that big a deal. I do take some burn damage, and then I'm going to fire off a T-Bolt. Because Substrike is missing its Life Orb, I don't think this calc damage-wise means much, as he knocks me out with a Sludge Bomb. So I couldn't tell at this point what kind of Venusaur this was. Was it physically defensive? Was it offensive? So I go into Cure him. I figure I can just click Ice Beam because even at this range of 75%, he will go down even if he is max special defense, max HP. He goes out to Mellow Water, takes some rock damage, but as you're going to see here, this Ice Beam does 30%. Now 30%, you're thinking, stat, this 30% is a good chunk of damage. Well, it is, but I'm a Kyurem, I'm modest, and with a Life Orb, like I hit really hard, guys. I have base 130 special attack, so this didn't do that much. Based on the calc, he is definitely a Solfest, which I definitely thought if he brought Mellow Water, he would be one of two sets, either the Pirouette version to transform the fighting type variant, or he could possibly have been just an Assault Vest variant, which he is here. But based on this damage, he is max HP, but he doesn't have that much special defense, so he's definitely a more offensive variant with some coverage moves. So I don't want to take a hit from this, especially if he has Focus Blast, so I'm going to go out to my Blastoise, and I'm regular Blastoise, but this still does a lot of damage. I think that did almost 40%, so that's a ton of damage, and I know based on that calc that it's definitely has at least a fair amount of offense, special attack investment. He ended up being max after the game. We kind of went over our sets, but he ended up being max special attack. So, yeah, I didn't want to stay in. I especially didn't want to stay in here because he could have Thunderbolt, and I do expect if he brought Mellow Water, he would have Thunderbolt as one of his coverage moves to hit my Blastoise. As you're going to see there, I go into my Victini. I don't have much bulk. I don't have any bulk investment EV-wise, but but Victini with its base 100 stats is still pretty bulky and naturally. I do take 37% from that, which is kind of a lot. But I'm just going to click V-Create because at this point he had really nothing to switch into a V-Create. Rotom went down at the health it was at. He wasn't switching into Genesect. Salamence would have been crippled, and even Venusaur would not have taken very much damage. Would not have taken it well, at least. But kill off Victini, kill off Meloetta, so at least it's now a 5-4 game with him in the lead. He goes out to Genesect. Now, I can't stay in here because after the V-Create drop, he will be able to outspeed me. So I choose to go out into Blastoise. Now, I could have made a couple plays here. I could have gone right into my Crocodile, but I didn't want to take the U-turn damage, and I didn't want to take a Ice Beam should he choose to predict me to go into said Crocodile. So I really didn't know his Genesect's moves at this point, or even if it was Scarfed. So I go into Blastoise. He goes for Extreme Speed. Now this is where I definitely could have gone into Crocodile, and he ends up not being very invested in attack. Once again, the little post-game talk. He ends up being not very invested in attack, and by not very invested, I mean 4. But like this did a ton of damage, and Blastoise is very bulky, so. But then again, at this point, I'm still regular Blastoise, so that did a lot. Now, once I saw Extreme Speed, I figured he was not physical Scarf. I figured if he was Scarf at all, he would be fully special. And because I'm not seeing an item, I expect him to have some sort of drive to take advantage of Techno Blast, which actually got buffed in Gen 6 to a plus special. A 100% accurate, 120 base power move. Pretty damn broken. Now, I could have gone to Crocodile, but I figured he would have something to hit my Blastoise, and I didn't know what it would be. He ends up being a super effective Techno Blast, which based on the drives he could have, like the Flame Drive, the Charge Drive, he ends up being Shock Drive, which is the electric one, which I guess makes sense if he predicted me to bring Togekiss to this match. It hit both Blastoise and Togekiss for a lot of damage. So, fortunately, I had to sack my Blastoise. Once again, I didn't know what his other moves were at this point, other than Extreme Speed. He could have had like Ice Beam to hit the. He could have had Ice Beam to hit the Crocodile. I go into my Victini just to scare him out. I know I can click V-Create. I expect him not to stay in though, so I'm just gonna fire up a Psychic. And because the Room's offensive and because it's taking 2 Stealth Rock switch-ins, it's not going to live. Period. And I do get the kill there. So it is now a 3-3 game, and looking pretty nice until this man comes in. Now, the reason I say that is, okay, we got some nice chip damage on him with the rocks, but I don't see an ability. I don't see the Intimidate, so I'm thinking, oh god, there's a Moxie Salamence on here, Choice Scarf. I can pretty much click Outrage for free at this point. Now, if he's Jolly, I've lost this game. Like, there is no way I can outspeed a Jolly variant. There's no way I can outspeed a Jolly variant. I choose to sack my Victini. Now, the Victini was technically the win con, but I had nothing else to switch into an Outrage. If I had known my Crocodile, which, spoiler alert, I'll get to this at the end of the battle, if I had known my Crocodile could easily outspeed, I would have sacked Kyurem here because Victini took on his remaining 3 mods. But, unfortunately, Victini has to go down, so he gets the Moxie boost. Now he's at +1. So if he's +1, Jolly or Adamant, it doesn't matter. So, pretty much at this point, what I have to hope for is that he is a Adamant variant. I win the speed tie because I'm at 299 speed. So, we're both Scarf, which means it's a speed tie. I have to win the speed tie, go for the knockoff, and get my Kyurem in to hopefully win this game. The problem with that is, if the Genesect is carrying more physical attacks than Extreme Speed, it has an Iron Head, he can just click Iron Head and win the game at this point. But that's really what we're down to right now. As you're going to see here, he hits the Outrage and kills my Crocodile, gets the +2. Now, at this point, I have to hope that he gets a 2-turn Outrage, gets confused, hits himself, and goes down to my Ice Beam, at which point I can kill the Venusaur with Ice Beam because it will take another Rock Switch in, and I can kill the Genesect with Hidden Power Fire, barring him having, like I said, the Iron Head. But what actually happens here is he doesn't get a 2-turn Outrage, he gets a 3-turn Outrage. He goes to I go to my Kyurem, he just clicks Outrage and wins the game. So we unfortunately lose 3-0, and now he gets confused, like just to salt in the wound. But basically, we lose this game 3-0, and so that'll be the game. But I just want to go over in more detail how I could have won had I made one small team builder adjustment. So the one small team builder adjustment would be to take my Scarf Crocodile. I was Jolly, so I outsped an Adamant Salamence. Adamant Salamence, even Scarfed, reaches 299 base speed with the Scarf. So all I would have to do is invest 4 more EVs, which I had plenty because the extra HP actually did nothing. So I would have been at 300 speed. I would have been able to go to my Kyurem on the Kyurem on the Victini switch, sack the Kyurem. He would have been at +1, but because he would have been in an outrage, he would have had to stay in. At which point, I could go to my Crocodile, click the knock off his Scarf. So now Victini outspeeds him no matter what. I don't know if at that point the knockoff itself would have knocked him out. I know Stone Edge would have, but there was a much better play in clicking knockoff just to give my team the best chance to win. Because what would have happened is he would have killed my Crocodile. He would have been at +2. Now, technically, if he gotten confused on that one, he could have switched out to another one of his mons. But because he was locked in Outrage, I could have clicked the Glaciate, easily knocked this thing out after Rock's damage because it was fully offensive, no bulk whatsoever. And what probably would have happened is he would have brought in his Genesect to force me to go for the Fee Create, which would have easily knocked it out. He would have gone for Extreme Speed, which, let me pull up my calcs here, guys. Yeah, so this calc may be edited in the video. If not, it'll be in the description for you guys who like to look at things like that. But, alright, so at which point... So he would have gone for the extreme speed, just get some damage off. Or if he didn't go for extreme speed, what I'm about to say is irrelevant. But basically, he would have probably gone for his extreme speed to get some chip damage off and died to the V-Create. Now, the V-Create damage would have left me, had he gotten an absolute max roll based on his investment, he would have put me at around 30%. Now, obviously, the V-Create would have put me at a lower special defense, lower physical defense, but because he was a max HP, max defense, bold Venusaur with no special attack investment, yes, his Sludge Bomb does 56%, and would have easily killed me from 30. But after a speed drop, I'm still outspeeding a no speed investment of Venusaur. I believe I would have dropped down to around 209 speed, and he had about 196. So, which meant because of his rock switch in, so he already switched in once. He was at 75% when he was switched out the first time. So he would have taken 12 more percent, which would have put him around 63 or 4. And Psychic does 67 minimum. So I would have been able to click Psychic and win the game 1-0. So that just shows you guys, if you're going to learn anything from this battle, make sure you double check and triple check your EVs, because 4 simple EVs can sometimes cost you the game, as it did here. I will not make that I will not make that mistake next week. Next week, I believe we take on Sean and I don't remember his team name, but yeah, we take on Sean, and I will definitely prep a little bit better for the game then. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, leave a comment if you so desire, and subscribe for more GBL battles as well as other Pokemon content. Anyway, guys, I'm Stab, and I am out of here.